Nolan Wells was found dead on Horn Island on Monday after being last seen on July 4th around 3 p.m. and did not return with the group of friends he was with. Attorney Ben Crump says that the legal team will conduct an independent review of the circumstances of Nolan's death and will press for the release of all records, witness accounts, and autopsy findings.
Melanie, Byron, Nolan's parents say he had a big heart, never met a stranger, and cared deeply about everyone around him. Nolan and Xavier Wells' parents are living through what they describe as their worst nightmare. The 18-year-old was a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College and played football at Ocean Springs High School. But to his family, Nolan was much more than an athlete. As they grieve their son, they are also searching for answers.
We just want to know what happened and why our baby didn't come home.
A phone that never went silent. A set of car keys that should have been in a pocket turned up hidden on top of an Xbox. And a group of friends who came home that night told police a story that would begin to fall apart within days. This is the case of Nolan Wells, an 18-year-old with no criminal record, no enemies, no reason to disappear, found dead on a barrier island with no witnesses except the people who left him there. By the end of this video, you'll know why his own mother doesn't believe the story she was told. This is the Cold Case Bureau. Nolan Wells was found dead on Horn Island this past Monday. He was last seen alive on July 4th, around 3 o'clock in the afternoon, standing on a stretch of sand off the Mississippi coast with a group of friends. He did not return with them. Attorney Ben Crump has now stepped into the case. His legal team will conduct an independent review of the circumstances surrounding Nolan's death, and they are pressing for the release of every record connected to it, witness statements, investigative files, and the full autopsy findings. When a civil rights attorney of Crump's profile takes a case like this, it is rarely because the official story is airtight. It is because something in it does not hold. Those who knew him describe a young man with an unusually big heart. He never met a stranger. He cared, genuinely, about the people around him, the kind of trait that gets repeated at every vigil. But in Nolan's case, the people who say it are the ones who watched him live it. Nolan Xavier Wells' parents are now living through what they call their worst nightmare. He was 18 years old, a wide receiver at Southwest Mississippi Community College, and before that, he played football at Ocean Springs High School. But strip away the highlight reels and the recruiting profile, and to his family, Nolan was never just an athlete. He was their son. As they grieve him, they are also demanding answers that his family says they have not been given. "We just want to know what happened," his mother tells us, "and why our baby didn't come home." Here is the detail that makes this case impossible to look away from. Nolan Wells was the friend who always made sure everyone else got home safe. On this trip, he was the only one who didn't. The night before he vanished, he stood in his mother's kitchen and cooked her dinner because she'd had a long day at work. That is the last ordinary memory his family has of him. An 18-year-old making sure his mom ate before he left for a day on the water. Less than 24 hours later, his phone had been wiped clean, his car keys turned up hidden on top of an Xbox at a friend's house, and Nolan Wells became the one person in that group who never made it back from Horn Island. So what actually happened out there? And why does every single person who was on that island that day tell a different version of it? By the end of this video, you will know exactly what Nolan's family says was erased from his phone, and why they believe those deleted messages could be the piece of evidence that finally breaks this case open. You will also see, step by step, where the story his friends told investigators starts to collapse, measured against the account of a witness who says she never told them what they later claimed she did. If you want to follow this case as new evidence surfaces, subscribe now, because the details in the next few minutes are the ones the group's story cannot survive. Welcome to Cold Case Bureau. We break cold cases open. We follow every lead until there's nowhere left for a story to hide. To understand how something like this could happen with no witnesses, you have to understand where it happened. Horn Island sits several miles off the Mississippi coast. It is reachable only by boat. There is no staff stationed out there, no drinking water, no shelter, and no way to call for help if something goes wrong. The sand itself is unpredictable. It shifts from 3 feet of water to 20 within a handful of steps. That instability is part of why so many people are drawn to the island in the first place. And it is part of why, on July 4th, Horn Island became a place with no independent witnesses at all, only the people who were already there. Whatever happened to Nolan Wells that afternoon, the only account of it comes from the very people who left without him. Nolan was last seen on that island around 3 o'clock in the afternoon. According to his friends, what happened next was simple, almost mundane. A bilge pump was failing. The boat was taking on water. They made a fast decision: leave and come back for him later. It's the kind of explanation that sounds reasonable on its face. Boats break down. Emergencies happen fast on open water. But here is where the timeline stops cooperating with the story. The U.S. Coast Guard has confirmed it received exactly one call connected to this group that entire day. And that call did not come in at 4:30, which is when the group says the emergency happened. It came in around 11 o'clock that night. That is a 6.5-hour gap between the moment they say they had to leave Nolan behind and the moment anyone called for help. 6.5 hours, on an island with no water and no shelter, and no explanation yet for what filled that silence. While Nolan's family waited for someone to explain that gap, they started digging into what his own phone could tell them. Christine Wansley, Nolan's mother, pulled up Life 360, a location-sharing app many families use to track each other. It showed his phone was already back on the mainland. Then she checked Snapchat's Snap Map. It showed something completely different. 2 separate tracking systems, on the same device, telling 2 different stories about where Nolan's phone actually was. That is not a rumor or a theory. That is a direct contradiction sitting inside the data itself. And it is one of the first threads that convinced this family the official version didn't add up. When Nolan's parents finally got his phone back, they opened Snapchat, expecting to find something, anything, from that day. There was nothing there, no photos, no saved snaps, nothing from July 4th at all. This was an account that, by his family's description, had never gone quiet in his entire life, and on the one day it mattered most, it had gone completely, deliberately silent. If a case like this deserves to be followed all the way to the truth, this is the moment to make sure you're subscribed, because what comes next is where the friend's timeline starts to unravel entirely, and you will not want to walk into that part of the story halfway through. The phone was not the only thing that took convincing to get back. Nolan's car was still parked at a friend's house, untouched. When his father, Elmore Wansley, went to collect the key, the boys there told him they didn't know where it was. He didn't accept that. He pushed past the stalling and demanded a real answer. The key was sitting on top of an Xbox, not lost, not misplaced in a couch cushion, sitting, in plain sight, on top of a video game console, in a house full of people who claimed for a moment that they had no idea where it was. Now here is the sharpest contradiction in this entire case. It centers on a young woman named Katie, who was on that beach with the group. According to the friend's account, Nolan chose to stay behind with her. That's their story. A mutual decision, nothing alarming. But Katie's family tells it differently. They say Katie and Nolan parted ways before he ever went missing, and that she believed, like everyone else, that the group was coming back to pick him up. 2 accounts. One says Nolan stayed behind by choice, with someone. The other says he was alone, waiting, on an island with no way to call for help, because everyone assumed someone else was coming back for him. There is also a short video now circulating online, showing what appears to be an argument on the shoreline. According to Ben Crump, multiple people have come forward identifying the voice in that video as Nolan's, demanding, by their account, that someone give him back his phone. The Jackson County Sheriff's Office is now asking the public directly for help verifying this alleged altercation. If that voice is confirmed, it places Nolan in a conflict, on that beach, that no one in the group has fully accounted for. Tell us in the comments what you think that shoreline video actually captures. Was it a simple disagreement, or something the group has been downplaying? We're reading every response on this one. To be clear about what we do and don't know, we don't know, with certainty, what was really said between Nolan and Katie in those final minutes. Her account comes to us through her family, not from her directly. That distinction matters, and any serious investigation has to weigh it. But even accounting for that, one thing has become impossible to ignore. Whatever truly happened between Nolan and the group in those final minutes, it was not the clean, mutual departure they first described to investigators and to his family. The story has already changed once. The question this case now turns on is how many more times it changes before someone tells the full version. What still has not been established, even now, is a confirmed, agreed-upon sequence of exactly what happened to Nolan Wells between 3 o'clock and 4:30 that afternoon. Not from the group. Not from the Coast Guard call log. Not from the phone data that contradicts itself. The investigation remains open. Ben Crump's legal team is actively pushing for full disclosure of records and autopsy findings, and the Jackson County Sheriff's Office is still asking the public for help, verifying what that shoreline video shows. Somewhere between the mother's Life 360 app and the son's silent Snapchat, between a bilge pump story and a 6.5-hour gap, between a key hidden on an Xbox and a voice on a video demanding a phone back, the truth about what happened to Nolan Wells is still sitting with the people who left that island without him. Until the records come out, until the phone data is fully explained, this case stays open. We'll be following it. If you want to be here when the next piece drops, make sure you're subscribed to Cold Case Bureau. Let us know in the comments what detail in this case doesn't sit right with you. We read all of them.